Hi everyone, my name is Natasha Westover and welcome to Accounted International. Today I'm joined by AK and we're going to be talking about how to prioritize your work. And we've got some tips on how to do that based on our years and years, decades of experience, because I love to make Andrew feel really, really old. So, Andrew, based on your decades of experience, what sort of tips would you give, especially a newbie, someone coming into finance? What tips would you give them about how to prioritize their work and their task list?
Thanks, Natasha. Yeah, thanks very much for making me feel really old. Yeah, in terms of prioritization, I think it can be split into sort of obvious things and less obvious things. I think one of the key things for me, one of the most obvious things is set yourself task lists. They may be daily, weekly, monthly, but basically try and get every activity that you've got to do in the near, medium and long term down in a list so that you can then tick them off as you go along, as you succeed in achieving your tasks, which is a hugely cathartic thing to do. And yeah, and then at least it gives you a baseline from which to prioritize. And when deciding how to prioritize, you need to decide what is important and what is urgent. Now, urgent tasks are those things which you need to get turned around really quickly. So it might be that your manager has asked you to carry out a quick piece of analysis so that they can add it into a presentation for a management meeting. That is an urgent task that you have to drop everything to get that done. So absolutely you deal with that one first. An important task would be things that can be viewed as more strategic, more long term. So something like working on a budget or working on a business case or a presentation. They take a lot longer to prepare, so you end up having to allocate larger amounts of time to it. So although they're not as urgent on this particular day, over time they do become urgent because you're running out of time to get things done, and you have to rearrange your priorities to enable you to get those done. So you need to have that differentiation between important and urgent, and be able to map out your task list in accordance to urgency and importance. And then I would suggest that you then look at your list and work out some sort of time plan. Try and understand what you need to get done today, what you need to get done this week, and rank the tasks on your list according to how long they take and how urgent and important they are. And try to chunk your day so that you have time set aside to review your list, time set aside to handle emails, so deal with the emails separately, and try to ensure that you have time to catch up with the people that are involved, that are recipients of your information. I think time management is quite a large subject that can be covered off on its own, but certainly being able to plan out your day, your week, your month, using sort of the task lists and mapping the urgent important things and planning your time is vital. So those are the fairly obvious standard things that we cover off. I would suggest that in addition to that, you need to work on communicating and negotiating with the recipients of your data, because while you may view things as important, they may not, and they may consider their urgent things to be more important than yours. So it's for you to negotiate with that person to ensure that you have the time to complete the important tasks you have, and continually communicate with that person to give them an update on how you're progressing, when they can have their information, and how they can help you to achieve both of your goals. The other one, sorry, Tash.
I was going to say, just on that note, I mean, one of the people you're likely to talk to about communication and figuring out what your priorities are is your line manager, is your boss. And you and I know, because we've managed so many teams for so many years, that when our team are quite quiet, and you kind of like, you don't want to micromanage them, but at the same time you're looking at them going, are you sure you're working on what I think you're working on? And you're trying to tread that line. As a manager, we try to tread the line of giving enough support and enough information and managing our team, but at the same time giving them enough space so that they feel they can own their own work. And so having regular catch-ups and really trying to think how you give your boss comfort that this is what I'm working on, this is the order in which I'm working on, and can we have a conversation about that? So I always say to people, it gives me a lot of comfort and confidence as a manager if my team book time with me and just review this, their task list, what they're working on, how they've prioritized urgent and important. And a lot of times I look at it and go, I wouldn't have prioritized it like that, but they've thought about it, and it does us no harm to do it in their order. So I go along with it so that they get into the swing of practicing this urgent and important, and they'll find their own way with it. So that's the other thing I would add on to what you were saying about the communication.
Yeah,
Did
absolutely.
you have any more tips on that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things I was going to come on to as part of the sort of communication side of things, that if you're speaking with your manager or the recipient of your information, then you may come up with an opportunity to collaborate with people, to actually get other people's input into the process, which is invariably a key part of producing good, accurate, timely information. So collaborating and also speaking to your manager. Your manager may see that you have a lot of conflicting priorities and may offer to take some of that work off of you and delegate it to somebody else. I think that communication is absolutely one of the key skills in learning to prioritize, and don't feel that your ever-growing list of things to do is just yours to deal with. Everybody in the business is affected by it, so talk to them and negotiate and agree what the priorities are.
I think that's a really good point, because I know when I started in finance, I thought it was my list and my work to prioritize, but nearly everything you work on has got a larger impact, and either other people in your team need you to do one piece of work so that they can do another piece of work. And in finance, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a piece of work on its own, and I didn't know that other people were relying on me doing it by a certain time so they could do their work. So think about the broader picture, and to do that you have to sort of communicate, and then other people around you will help you understand why it is important you get certain pieces of work done by a certain deadline. But I would say, following on from that, one of the things I do now is when I join a company, I ask other people around me, especially in the finance team, if there are other finance people, if it's a larger team, I ask them how they prioritize, because that way I'm not reinventing the wheel, and also they've probably found a way to prioritize that works for that business or that culture. And so therefore you can just fast track it, and you can just replicate what they've got, and you can tweak it and improve it yourself. So that's always something I do. And if no one prioritizes work around me, that's a red flag that this is like a haphazard place. And that's good information for you to know that you're in that environment now. So whether they give you good information or not, it's still good data for you to know. The other thing I would say is, oh, sorry, Andrew, you were going to say
No,
something.
I was just going to say absolutely, and it's your opportunity then to introduce and coach people and train people in how to have this sort of list of priorities and work together to understand what order they should be done in.
Yeah, I think there's so much information around you, and just make good use of it. And even if people say, I we don't really prioritize or we don't do that, you will start seeing it in their behavior anyway, because everyone just works in a certain way. So just stay vigilant. The last thing I wanted to say, you were talking about the task list and getting your list together and urgent versus important. One of the things that still actually trips me up today, especially now we live in a world where we have so many devices, is to have your task list in one place. So I'm like a real sucker. I have got loads and loads of notebooks. I've got stacks of them. Then I've got notes on my phone. I use OneNote on my iPad. And then on my laptop, I use another document to track. And then I've got like 5 places that I've got all these different tasks, and then I really struggle to put it together and identify what's urgent and what's important, because on each device or notebook, there's something urgent and important, but they're in different places. So I would really recommend, and at the moment I'm using Wunderlist as an app on my phone where I can just put all my create all different projects and put all different task lists under there, set reminders and stuff like that. So figure out what works for you, but keep it in one place. Just have one master sort of task list.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to that, I know that you use them a lot. Whiteboard. Get yourself a nice clean whiteboard and bring all your lists together in one place. And at least, that way you don't get tripped up by having the wrong notepad, or forgetting having notes on your iPad but not on your phone. So yeah, absolutely, just one point of reference.
Yeah, the only trouble with my whiteboard is that it's really tricky to fit in my handbag. So, that's a bit of a pain.
So
But
that's where your
anyway,
phone comes in.
do you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, as I say, I think with prioritization, you're not working alone. So speak to other people, understand how your priorities fit in with their priorities, and yeah, hopefully you don't trip yourself up and get inundated with too many things to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's sound advice. So thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone. And if you've got any other ideas that you think we've missed, just put them in the comments below, because we'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.